If you like to grow fall bulbs or spring flowers in your garden, then this video is for you. I'm going to share with you my method of planting tulips, hyacinths, daffodils, alliums, and other flower favorites which first appear after the cold weather is gone. Fall bulbs are named that way since they have to be planted in fall, ideally before the first frost. Depending on the USDA zoning, this means around late September to November. Flowers like daffodils, hyacinths, and muscari must be left in the ground for a few years, but it is strongly recommended to take out tulips for the summer, especially if you live in colder climates. Cold and rainy weather cause tulips to rot. The low summer temperatures don't let tulip bulbs to ripen enough in order to produce good flowers the following spring. They need at least 45 weeks of 30 to 35 degrees Celsius in order to produce good blooms for next year. Remember, this is because tulips originate from Central Asia. Tulips might simply disappear in the summer since they are sweet and edible, and insects or animals love to eat them. I've tried many different methods for many years, but I was never really satisfied with any of them until I invented my last method. I'm going to tell you that one later. However, in the meantime, I'm going to tell you all the other ways that I tried and all of their cons. Time, money, hard work, everything was an important factor in this. I will discuss each of them shortly. First, I tried to use plastic pots with large holes. They cost me around $1 to $2 in general stores, and they can fit around 5 to 6 bulbs. So how many do I need if I'm planting around 600 to 700 tulips each year? That's so many containers. The outcome was that the bulbs that I dug out at the end of the vegetation period were really small. They were obviously very weak and they did not get enough nutrients. Lots of the roots were just wrapped up inside the pot, and when I was digging them out, I accidentally cut one of the bulbs. Squirrels and rabbits dug them out and ate them too, so I didn't like this method. Then I tried plastic food containers since they didn't cost me anything. I just used to collect them for the whole year, and then I cut holes in them for the roots so that they can get out. The same problems occurred with the plastic pots. Lots of work. It ended up not working. Then I tried chicken wire. You can buy it in any garden center. It is also really expensive, but the outcome was much better. Squirrels couldn't get to them. The bulbs were pretty big because they did get enough nutrients. It was pretty hard for me to pull out the whole layer because the tulips would root themselves in very deep, and I was also losing very young, small bulbs through the holes. Even if I used more dense chicken wire, it still wouldn't work. Generally, I like it, but I wanted better. The cost was very high. The chicken wire only lasted me for 2 years, since the oxidation process destroyed it very fast in the soil. I also damaged my hands if I worked without gloves. I had to work with it only outside in the cold, fall weather after a long work day, in the rain and in the dark. I was really suffering, and for these beautiful flowers, spending money and hard work for years. I didn't like it. Once I tried big plastic trays after an internet search and YouTube videos. It was the biggest mistake. I will never do it again. The bulbs rooted themselves so strong that I couldn't pull them out of the ground without extra help. I had to call for a tow truck. Just kidding. Squirrels and rabbits ate lots of them, though, and I needed to free up lots of space to plant my bulbs in the tray. It definitely didn't work. I was keeping my fall bulbs in the summer in an onion mesh bag in the garage. Once I thought to myself, what would happen if I was to plant them in the ground in the onion bag? And for some reason, I thought before that they're not strong enough and the bulbs won't feel good in that mesh bag. And I have tried once. The bulbs easily grow through the mesh, opening the holes as big as they need to. I was amazed at how easy it was to plant all of the bulbs, how easy it was to pull them out of the ground in the summer, to free up the space for other annual plants and flowers. I was surprised at how big and healthy the bulbs were at the end of the vegetation period. They definitely got all of the nutrients they needed, and they obviously gained the size that they needed to bloom successfully the following year. I didn't lose anything when digging them up because the mesh in the ground wouldn't let me do it. They protected the bulbs, and the net was so bright and colorful that you could see them right away. I was watching squirrels through my window, how they tried to dig out my bulbs through the net, and they couldn't, and they were just giving up. Everything was pretty good, except for the fact that I have to collect onion bags for a whole year and cut them out of the plastic label, and after securing it with staples, still a lot of work. However, I was pretty happy. At least I don't have to spend lots of money for my spring garden anymore, and I can prepare everything inside of the house and not outside in the cold and in the dark, in the rain, after a long work day, rushing to plant everything on time. I am working with flowers, and I thought, what if I was to use those flower mesh things for bulbs? It would actually save me lots of time, and I wouldn't have to collect onion bags for a whole year. And I tried, and it is actually working. A roll of the mesh, not any popular colors, on sale, that you can buy for $2 per 10 yards. It's enough to plant a few hundreds of hyacinths, daffodils, and tulips combined. The bulbs can still grow through the mesh by opening the holes, and the mesh does not deteriorate inside the soil. They also protect my bulbs from squirrels and from damage. One thing that was still bothering me was that when I planted them, the bulbs inside would shift too close to one another, and I needed something to separate them in order to make space between them. I just thought that moss would definitely serve that purpose. I collected them and preserved it by drying. In some places, moss grows as weed, so it's actually a really good way to reuse it. Moss has a porous structure, and that property helped me since, moss is very, very easy to work with, so I use it as a divider. Besides, moss used in agriculture to improve soil aeration and is known to show antibacterial and antifungal properties. If you don't have any moss and don't know where to collect it, try to use some wood chips as dividers. They will compost completely for a couple of months to provide the bulbs with additional nutrients during spring. I just cut a piece of the mesh, put a bit of the moss, and then put the bulbs sorted by the varieties or size. Staple the sides around it, and it is done, ready to be planted. I can also use to cut the mesh in size that I needed depending on the room I have for planting. Sometimes I can only fit a few bulbs between the bushes of peonies and hydrangea. I can prepare everything now in advance, inside the house, and choose a nice day to go outside and plant them. This method really saved me tons of work and time and money. I have around 2,000 bulbs in total. Some of them I leave in the ground for a few years, but some of them I have to take out in the summer and plant them back all in fall. I choose a nice warm day for planting, and I prepare the place. Larger bulbs need deeper holes in the ground. Smaller bulbs need shallower holes. You can plant them in a pattern, considering the colors and design and time of blooming, making your garden as attractive as you want it to be during the whole springtime. Feeding them with fertilizer when you plant them. You should try, and you will see how easy it is to surprise all of your neighbors with fancy-looking gardens in spring. Nobody will see you plant your tulips because they are planted and prepared really fast. What they will see is how beautiful it ends up. Thank you so much for watching. Leave any comments and questions below, and don't forget to subscribe.